So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Rishi Sunak passing the 100 mark to get to the Tory threshold and be on the final ballot. The thing that I really want to discuss isn't just this, it's Sunak isn't liked by the Tory membership, and I know a few of them give reasons why, over taxation and all of these ideas, right? But I think genuinely the reason they don't like him is, some of them at least, don't like him is because of his skin colour, I'll be honest. Do I have a ton of evidence for that? There are obviously racists within the Tory party, as there are in many different groups, but if we go through this article, and I'll talk about some of the stuff regarding kind of why I think his ethnicity will be the biggest problem. Sunak made the cut. To make the final ballot, you need 100 nominations. Johnson is apparently halfway there, despite claiming he reached the 100 mark, which is interesting. And Penny Mordaunt is around the 20 mark, so I don't think she'll make it. I think it's going to be a coronation of Rishi Sunak. The membership are going to be left out of it. That's what it looks like, and that's what I think the 1922 committee wanted to do. They wanted to set it up like this. The former Chancellor reached the threshold around 10 p.m, according to a campaign source that was on Saturday. His team now wants the endorsement of a majority of MPs. On Monday, 2 p.m, is the cut-off point for nominees. On Friday night, Sunak had secured the public backing of 97 Tory MPs, but we now know he's made it. Meanwhile, Johnson won the backing of cabinet ministers like Ben Wallace, the Defence Secretary, who is quite popular in the Tory party, and Simon Clarke, who's a nutjob. Sunak has been rejected by the grassroots Tories, who do not see him as a true Conservative because of his tax policies. And, let's be honest, his tax policies are closer to George Osborne, former Tory Chancellor under David Cameron, tax and spend, but he still wants to shrink the state, reduce tax, reduce spending. Standard Tory stuff. The issue is that he's pragmatic. He's been clear that reducing corporation tax did not make a huge difference under the Cameron years, so he doesn't see raising it as a big issue. I think he probably wants to cut the 45p tax rate, but he would reduce spending in order to achieve that aim rather than borrowing like Truss did, and that's what spooked the market, the unfunded tax cuts. But to argue he's not a true Tory is dumb. It would be like trying to explain what a true Brexiteer is. The terms are too nebulous. What is a true Conservative? Because you have libertarian Conservatives, you have, quote, compassionate Conservatives, you have religious Conservatives, for example. But those on the ground, going back to the article, do not share the same level of enthusiasm for the former Chancellor. Discussing the previous leadership race, Tamara Wood, chair of the Telford Conservative Association, told the BBC Radio 4's Today programme that she voted for Liz Truss, saying, "I voted for Liz Truss. As for me, it was anyone but Rishi. You say we had a comprehensive say. We didn't. We had a say of two presented to us by the MPs. And that's how it'll always be for the Tory members, just like in 2019. They had the option of Jeremy Hunt and Boris Johnson. Certainly, after what has happened, the process has obviously not given us what we have needed as a party, And what as a party do you need? You have the centre-right wing, the centre-right of the party, and the right wing of the party, and the lunatic ERG wing. Is there another wing? Sorry, I've kind of phrased this really badly here. You have the centre-right of the party, and you have the ERG lunatic wing, who's the far right of the party. Is there another wing of the party that I'm unaware of? Asked if she regretted voting for Truss, she replied, no, because I didn't want Rishi. I don't think he's a true Conservative in the terms of what I look for. Conservative. That's weird. Over tax mainly, but also he and Boris Johnson broke the law, and the biggest thing in terms of me standing on the doorstep clearly declaring myself as a Conservative, we have to have integrity, and we lost that with Rishi and with Boris. I think that's nonsense, with Rishi, breaking the law. I think he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's just not to defend the guy, but I think he's meant to be at a meeting, someone pulled out cake, and I know Boris Johnson used the same argument, but I think Rishi was just unlucky. The irony is Johnson's law-breaking was worse. He's going to face the Privileges Committee as well, because he's alleged to have lied in the House of Commons. Also, Johnson picked Sunak as Chancellor. To moan about Sunak's economic policies is to also complain about Johnson's. So I would want to ask this member who out of Sunak and Johnson they would vote for. She goes on to say, it's very clear that membership do not have the confidence in Rishi. He's been rejected recently by the membership. He only lost by about 7 percentage points. It would not like to see either of those two, even with the opportunity at this point, because they both failed, talking about Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson. That's true, they did both fail, but you might be forced to pick either the reject, which is Rishi Sunak, or the failure, which is Boris Johnson. Her opinions were echoed by Sally Ann Marks, chairman of the Maidstone and Weld Conservative Association, who said, I want to see. Is somebody who's going to unify the party and that everybody feels able, despite people who may not have chosen that particular person to get behind. Essentially, someone who you can kind of tolerate. She criticised Sir Roger Gale for saying he would quit as a Tory MP and stand as an independent if Boris Johnson returned to number 10, adding that is not the behaviour I want to hear from our MPs, not at all. I want everyone to be able to feel they can unite for good or for bad behind our Prime Minister. And, for good or bad, does she mean loyalty to a fault or loyalty to the end? Their loyalty should be to the country. Party is secondary. She says, it seems to me that the country needs us to do that. Country first, party second. Yet she wants people that will be absolutely loyal to a guy like Boris Johnson who, let's be honest here, did a lot of damage to the country. Both of these people said they would feel shortchanged if Tory members did not get a say on the next Prime Minister. I don't think that's going to happen, and I'll discuss why. Miss Woods conceded, we play a major role in the party as grassroots, and I would like to see the membership having their vote, but it could be all over by Monday. Sunak did not answer questions from reporters as he left his home, blah, blah, blah. The important bits I wanted to talk, which is this article here, he's not popular, passes the 100 mark. You got Robert Jenrick here saying Sunak has the momentum, so this is from the 22nd, saying Sunak has the momentum. He is circa 60 nominees away from having 169 backers or the support of more than half the MPs. So he's doing really well here. You got Chris Mason who tweeted, I'm told Boris Johnson has now more than 100 backers, but then he later tweeted underneath this one, on seeing this briefing, one Conservative MP reckons it's hogwash. That Johnson has so many backers not willing to say publicly is clearly nonsense. And, I don't know if those Boris Johnson backers are in the room with us right now. They could be. Who knows? Because if you switch to Dan Hodges, who's right-wing lunatic, but he has a lot of connections in the Tory party, him saying, Red Wall MP tells me Boris's team have been on to me all afternoon, desperately trying to get me to nominate. At the moment, they haven't got the numbers. They're well short. I don't know what he means by well short. I think he's about 40-odd off. You have Isabel Oakeshott, again, another Tory person who has a lot of connections in the party, tweeting on the 23rd of October, 12:20, saying, as of now, I understand Boris Johnson is struggling to get the numbers. I think he's finished, says one backbencher who was asked for support. Still too early to say, though. He's got about less than a day to figure this out. You've got Theo Usherwood saying reason Johnson would inflate his numbers is that changes the dynamic of the conversation with MPs. So potential supporters believe he's reached 100 already. The risk is not to back him and be frozen out. So, if you back him publicly, then even if Boris Johnson loses, it means that, like, if I'm struggling a bit here. The point being is that you won't be as isolated if you thought Boris Johnson has the numbers to become to get onto the ballot, because if it goes onto the ballot, he'll win the membership race, no doubt. You've got these are the sorts of people I'm talking about here. You've got Tory member calling into LBC saying Rishi Sunak isn't even British despite being born here. Yet Boris Johnson is British despite the fact that he was born in America. Like, these people make no sense. This guy talks about his friend who was born in Uganda, and he's saying, well, he wouldn't be classed as Ugandan, but like, if he grew up in Uganda, I guess he would be able to make a claim that he could, claim Ugandan citizenship. Makes no sense. And this is kind of last time, Rishi Sunak lost by a fair bit here. Truss winning by about 7% of the vote. Truss a lunatic. But given how popular I think Boris Johnson is amongst the Tory membership, I don't think Sunak would stand a chance if it went to the ballot, if it went to the Tory members. So I think the Tory MPs are desperate to kind of keep it away from the Tory membership and basically coronate Rishi Sunak. So they want to push as much support as they can behind Rishi Sunak, get him well above the 100 figure to the point where Boris Johnson won't be able to secure 100 votes. And by doing that, he will, essentially the members won't have a choice, similar to what happened with Theresa May in a sense, apart from Andrea Leadsom resigned, but the members didn't get a vote over that. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can just do a clean sweep, put Sunak in there, and that's it. He'll be PM until the next general, which will be interesting because he's not as idiotic as Liz Truss, but he's still very dangerous. This guy's more of a Cameron-type Tory. Just his he supported Brexit instead of being against it. That's the main difference between, I think, someone like Rishi Sunak and someone like David Cameron or George Osborne. They know how to play the game a lot better than I think someone like Liz Truss was able to. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.